So today's the first day of LA Comic Con, huh?
Yeah, I've seen the. I went into their website to see who's there, and man, it's packed. It's just there's a lot of companies I don't recognize like who's there, but I know Quidd's gonna be there. I know animocabrands is gonna be there with like two other companies they own, I think.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a bunch of like people signing autographs, taking pictures. I mean, they charge you for all that stuff, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. They're gonna have the guy from I don't know if you ever saw Breaking Bad. They have Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be there, and they also have I just seen the movie. Oh, The Lord of the Rings. They have Frodo, the actor who played him. He's gonna be
Oh,
there
that's
too.
cool, man.
So I'm just like, dang, like I'm planning on going. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it today, but I mean, I still have either tomorrow or Sunday to go, and
Oh,
I,
cool.
yeah, I can't wait to be there. I mean, I know Zane and Jonathan are gonna be there.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're gonna be there all day. I wonder if Michael's gonna show up too. It'll be cool if he shows up, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's a lot of events and stuff going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think in one weekend, and I think it was in 2019, they had like over 120,000 people, and maybe last year was like over 150. So who knows what this year, how many people are gonna be there?
Yeah, I mean, to show up, just to walk around and look. A lot of people go dressed in costumes and stuff like that, which is cool. If I when I go, I'm just gonna be like just walking around, and I love comics, so I'm gonna be pretending that I want to buy an Incredible Hulk one, but just to see it and hold it. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And yeah, see how it is. I know it's gonna get packed, so I want to show up early. It starts today starts at 4, so I mean I still have time. Even after this, I could probably because I live close to the convention center, so I can make it like in 30 minutes.
Cool. Cool. And I see the Queen has blessed us with her presence. That's really cool. From the Queen's Court.
Yeah, yeah, Lori. Yeah, I'll listen into her podcast a lot. She's like a really good interviewer, and she won't ask simple questions. She'll ask like she does research. You could tell. She'll ask a question where it's like, okay, yeah, I would have asked them that too if I was asking them a question.
Yeah, I like going there too, just because the questions really like bring out a lot of information, pique interest, and they're just really well structured. So definitely, anytime I can, if I see it's running, I pop on and just kind of gain gems and knowledge. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good listening to other because you see what people are discussing, and you'll kind of like relate it to what's going on with Quid. There's like they said they're gonna do this, but it's not happening, or what's next. Like we already, did our whole collecting, and we're in the what's next phase. We're all excited to see, where this is all gonna lead to. So I think it's important to listen to other spaces and just get a different perspective, even though we're all digital collecting, and the arguments are always about like what's a real NFT? Is it on the blockchain? First appearance, things like that. It's like, we're all just collecting because we love the brands, we love the characters, and it's just different forms of collecting.
Exactly, and I think we're really fortunate to have on these different platforms all these awesome IPs and that they're still available. I was kind of a little nervous that maybe with what was going on with Disney and stuff like that, there might be a big pullback. But seeing that the collectibles are here still, we can use them is awesome. And there's still more stuff coming out. I think on Veve they just had the She-Hulk drop, and that was really cool. So.
Yeah, I think it's just, seeing like, well, what do they offer? What do we offer? What's Squid offer? And collecting in both. I feel like Vivi's more like Marvel right now and like the big brands and the figures and all that, where Quid can, be a little bit more like, let's just drop this artist that no one really knows about, like the new one that just came, the Bored Ape Social Club. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that's
cool.
Quid
Yeah.
is the perfect platform for that because it's like no one really knows what it's going to become. What is it? It's brand new. It's not like this IP that's been around for 50, 80 years. Quid is a little
Mm.
bit more like, let's just drop what we like and see if people like it or not. And I mean, it's it's different. It's more 2D, and you don't have a showroom for it yet, or you can't do nothing. But as you showed me with Spatial, which I've been messing around with, you can
Mhm.
take anything on Quid and put it there, and have it in this 3D environment. And messing around with it, I just feel like that's what I feel like gives these items value when you can see them in a 3D space, when you can move them around, put them on a wall. No, I don't like that one, how it looks. Then move it over here. And I mean, I'm having fun messing with it. And you showed me it, so it's like we could do it on our own. You know, you don't need the Quidd right now to do it for us.
Yeah, and I think as collectors and as creative artists and just people having fun. I mean, I've seen it on all the different platforms, and Veve really kind of the Veve community. They really kind of take it to a whole new level with that. You know what they do with their videos, how they do the animations, and I was like, you know what, if they can do it, then why can I do it also? And it kind of inspired me to come out of my shell and make some of these, like the stuff I've been doing on YouTube and putting on Twitter and just having fun, I mean, I think that's the whole thing is that, um, instead of waiting for a platform to do something, we kind of just take the initiative and just, like kids almost play with our toys and see what we can do with it because that's what this whole space is about is taking, all the memories, nostalgia, and IPs that we loved, and using technology and software to take it and do more with it than we could before. You know?
Yeah, because I mean, the basic of collecting is getting what you like, getting what you love. You know, saying this is mine, I own it, I can do whatever I want with it. You know, so it's I collect on Quidd, on Veve. I started collecting on the DC marketplace,
Cool.
and just having this sense of ownership is what makes it fun. You know, you can tell yourself, "Hey, I actually own this. It's mine. There's only 100. There's only 1,000 of these, and I own this number." You know, and another part of collecting is going out and seeing what's out there and being, "I want this. I want that." And maybe somebody has an item you want, so now it's like, do you want to sell it to me? Let's trade. Let's work something out. And just showing other people, hey, I love this, you love it too, we all love it. So that's where this community comes from. Just digital collecting in general. It's like we're all doing this because we want to show, hey, I have passion for this. I'm gonna show you that I like this. What do you like? Oh, you like that? Anybody can talk about Marvel, Disney, Rick and Morty, Game of Thrones. We could talk about it all day, and
Mhm.
just having another form to express that. I think it's what's gonna make this digital collecting thing take off because it's easy, man. You just push a few buttons and you own it, and it's yours. It's in your phone. You don't have to worry about putting it somewhere, storing it. You could just, have it with you and show whenever you want.
Yeah, and then you can kind of like interact with it, and then going forward, I think that with this metaverse stuff that that the BV is kind of been looking at with the convention and everything like that, and what LA Comic Con is doing with their metaverse, and I think that's just going to bleed over to Quid eventually. Like we're going to have like something similar. And again, again speculation. Don't know how big it's going to be or anything like that, but we'll be able to like maybe even like show our collectibles, play with them, and interact with them. And I think that's going to be the big thing where, like, I don't know, like, I played Pokemon when it first came out in 2016, right? And the fact that you had these little things you could pick up, these Pokemon, and then battle them in gyms and battle with each other. I'm like thinking to myself, well, with these digital collectibles, how cool would it be if they can interact? Even when your phone's not on, like, you can have some on little missions or quests. And I think that's next level. I think that these platforms are probably have been working on it for a while, and that as it comes out and they kind of perfect that technology, it's just going to take it to that whole entertainment interaction to a whole new level, and it's gonna be pretty cool. Like I'm really looking forward to it. We're all early, like I always say, and we're all fan because we're all growing this amazing space. So I think that in the end, it's in some way or another, we're all going to be interconnected, no matter what platform we're going to be on.
Yeah, I think early on it's very like this is better than this or I like this because that's the only thing at first. Just like me, I started on Veve. It's the greatest thing ever. I can collect Spider-Man. That was my first collectible that I
Cool.
got on the drop. And I just thought, man, this is cool. Like I own this. There's only let's say 4,000 of these. I own this number, and then it's just evolving into what it's become now, where it's like you you've discovered this. You showed up for the collectible, but now you're staying because the community is important. You find other people to talk about, the same things that you love. So, when I was on Veve, I fell in love with the comics. And then when I
Mm.
found Quidd, I told myself, okay, do I really care if it's on the blockchain? Do I really care first appearance? And I'm like, no, I love Marvel. I love Disney. I love these brands. So that didn't really matter to me. Even thinking about it now, it doesn't really matter because I know only I own this number 5 of 20, right? No one
Yeah.
else can have it. No one else can be like, oh, I own that same one. They come in the same item, but they might have a better mint, or lower number than me. And it's just
Mhm.
falling in love with the brand because, in 20, 30 years, are we really going to care if, oh, this one was on the blockchain first? Okay, well, this one actually was released first as a digital collectible, because now everything is, oh, call them digital collectibles. We don't want to call them NFTs no more, right? Because it has a bad connotation. People think NFTs are scams. So let's call them digital collectibles, right?
Mhm.
And some people, they hear about Quidd and it's like, okay, the only thing, and it's funny because I joined Quidd after they had that whole little Twitter beef, right? Where, oh, these are real NFTs and MTL when we have MTL, stuff like that. That's why I
Mhm.
joined Quidd. That's what made me want to check them out again and be like, okay, well, what's up with this? Let me look into it.
Mhm.
And when I joined, I'm like, okay, they have a lot of stuff Veve has, like the same brands and things like that. But what made me stay was, hey, it's fun, like I have the set, I completed it. Okay, I'm have the second rank set. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. You can get ranked in the whole brand. So like right now in Marvel, I'm ranked I think 12 or 13th. And
Sweet.
that makes me want to be like, hey, I want to get more collectibles and rank up because I want to be in the top 10. That's my goal right now, right?
Awesome. And you're close. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost there. It's taking me a while, but because the obviously the higher you rank up, the harder it becomes to jump a spot, right?
Yeah.
And then right now, it's like, okay, well, I'm thinking, what do I buy? What's gonna help me rank up? And another thing I like about Quidd, especially, there's some brands that have dropped that. I mean, for example, the Night Chin Cats. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
I just wanted the award they were gonna give out, right? Because in Quidd, every new set that comes out has an award attached to it, where maybe only the top 10 people get it, or maybe the top, sometimes even just the top three, right?
Mhm.
They get the award depending on where they rank. There's a snapshot or a deadline where they say, hey, Monday at 12 p.m., this chase ends. The top three people are going to get, a ticket to DragonCon. So I think that's fun right now. And I know Vivi's eventually going to implement the MCP, and that's what's going to get people to buy more collectibles because they want to rank up. They want to see where they stand with each other. And I think it's pretty cool to just, have that gamification to it already, where it's going to be like, okay, well, what's next to it? And as we're seeing with the World Cup right now, Quidd is actually bringing utility where if you hold a certain player and they do a certain thing like score a goal or their team wins, you'll get credit, to spend in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's cool. Like that was a nice surprise because I had collected the football cards, football soccer. And I didn't expect anything, other than collecting it. And when I saw that happen, I was like, man, that's pretty cool that I'm getting this extra added utility that I didn't plan for before. And I think that's the cool thing about these digital collectibles is that it can be the gift that keeps on that keeps on giving, because you can buy it once, you can store it, and then you can be getting these, like, I don't know, airdrops. You can be getting utility. You can be joined in contests, and we're only going to see it, evolve as time goes on. And it's just really, really cool that we're kind of being rewarded for keeping, holding, and collecting these items.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes to show that, you know what, you don't really need the blockchain for utility. I know some people are like, oh, when are we going to get utility and this and that? And it's like, you can just have how it is right now, right? Quidd has these collectibles. They know what you have. They know what you own. We're running this event with utility. Like we know what you're gonna win. Here it is. And I think that's what's kind of happening. People are more like open to just digital collectibles, not having to be like on a blockchain or have to be a token.
Mm. But I think it's going to be kind of maybe like a hybrid, like kind of like we have now, where you have some that are just serialized and they're on a centralized platform, and then you'll have the choice to move them on the blockchain and then move them around. I mean, I think some platforms will just stay on the blockchain, But I think as time goes on, it'll become a choice, especially for safety reasons, to move it on or off the blockchain. And even like these original blockchain games, if it ever goes to platforms like we're talking about like PlayStation or Nintendo, and when they kind of get into the game, it's going to be like maybe their own chain, and they might have it where if you own these other IPs, maybe they can interact. I'm thinking about like games like Skylanders. I don't know if you know anything about Skylanders or anything like that, or the emojis, not emojis. I can't think of them. Ones from Nintendo where you can get the little, you can buy them and you can put them in a game and play them.
The amiibos.
Amiibos, exactly. And that's kind of like when I saw that originally, and then I started seeing the digital collectibles. I'm like, it made sense to me. Like I saw the connection that it's not going to be just holding a physical collectible. I mean, you can, but you can collect these digital collectibles, and that they're going to be able to in the future interact. And that's the exciting part, because once gamification really kind of becomes an everyday staple of this, it's going to take it and bring mass adoption to a whole new level.
Yeah, I think just they're doing it little by little because they can't just straight out be like, here are all these features. Let's see what works, what doesn't. They're just kind of like, let's do it slowly. We're in a bear market, so they're like, is there really any purpose to release all these crazy features? Like, we know that they have them. We get a little glimpse of them here and there, but it's like you don't want to do it when you have just a few people doing it and collecting. You want it to be, let's test it out with them first, and then now let's really open the floodgates. Let's really show everybody what we got. And just taking their time. I think we've talked about it before. Quidd takes their time. There's no rush. They say they want to be around for 100 years, so there's barely year 8. So it's gonna take time. You know, we're early. Everyone says we're early, and it's like you're early, so you gotta wait it out more. But we see the future. I feel like a lot of people who are here right now and they're in the communities collecting because when people are like, "Hey, Superman 1's dropping on DC," I don't care if you
Mm-hmm.
collect Veve, Quidd, or Recur only. Everybody went for that drop, right? So they saw how important it was. They saw, hey, there's a chance right there. So one piece of history because it's the first time this comic book's gonna come out as an NFT.
Yeah, that was
So
really cool. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think with the big brands like Pokemon and maybe other ones like Harry Potter, things like that. Like it's gonna take time for them to come out. I also feel like I was thinking about it earlier. Like Quidd is all about packs and openings and stuff like that. And I know Vivi does like the blind box thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Quidd is perfect for something like Pokemon. Like if Nintendo finally decides, okay, we're gonna get into this NFT business, well, what can we do? We want to drop these cards. I feel like Quidd is like that perfect platform where it's like, oh yeah, you can drop these on this platform because that's what they do. They do cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel Quidd is
Well,
like just built for like mass adoption. Not saying Vivi isn't, but like Quidd already has a lot of things figured out.
yeah, but I think like especially big IPs like that, like kind of adding to it, maybe even Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But I think that when like I see Pokemon everywhere. I see Yu-Gi-Oh everywhere. Like Pops, you see them everywhere. I think they're not going to be very specific. They might start at one platform, whichever platform that's going to be. But I think that every platform has kind of a uniqueness in niche. So I think they kind of would want to play the whole field. Maybe figures might be on one, maybe cards might be on another. And we have the pack opening feel of that, and maybe they'll have figures on Veve or on Quidd or elsewhere. So I mean, when it happens, it's going to be massive because those are like super super big IPs that are very very recognized. And I think you're right. I think they're going to take their time. They're going to plan it out. And if they don't do it first on their own, they'll definitely, start somewhere, and then it'll kind of just explode from there. And it'll be really cool. I mean, I would definitely take part of that, no matter where it's going to be, for sure.
Yeah, I think how you were talking about Pokemon Go earlier, the same way, it's just something Pokemon gets attached to something and it blows up, right? Like if anyone else had done this, oh, there's this game where you walk around and you collect these things and and just like AR, map environment and stuff. Like, okay, well who cares? But Pokemon gets attached to it and everyone's like, what it is that I want to play. You know, people are out walking at 2 in the mornings in parks and doing all this crazy stuff. You know, not paying attention, but I think that's why brands matter. You know, and you know, in a sense, marketing does too. But once those big brands finally decide to be like, okay, I think it's time. We see what these people offer, and like you said, you know, Quidd might do the cards, and Veve will do the, you know, the figures and the statues and the. But right now, I think those are the only two platforms right now where like a major IP can go to them and be like, hey, we want to do this with you guys because we know DC is doing their own thing with Palm, and you know, it's just DC stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't think people want to go to OpenSea. Like a big brand's gonna want to say, "Hey, we're dropping this on OpenSea," because you need to know about
Mm.
crypto and pay in and gas fees and all that. So Quidd
Yeah.
and Vue right now, they're gonna be the go-to platforms, and you know, Quidd hasn't really dropped a big brand recently. I want to say, you know, it's like kind of like small ones. I mean, I think the Board Ape Social Club thing is gonna become big, seeing that it's
Yeah.
you know, animocabrands has partnered with Bored Apes, and you know, they build their little map on Sandbox and help them making their ape token or their ape coin. I mean, so yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna want to work with animocabrands just because they're the big player in Web3 right now. They have all these partnerships. They're investing a lot of money. They have all these studios all over the world, and I mean, Quidd is their marketplace, right? It's like you have this big company. It's like, well, where can I buy all this stuff? Like, you know, you get it on Quidd, and I also think because you connect your MetaMask to Quidd directly now, it's like I have all these collectibles and NFTs on my MetaMask. Okay, we'll plug them into Quidd, and now you can list them on Quidd, right? So I think Quidd's going to become that marketplace eventually.
Yeah, and I think like since you were just talking about like the integration stuff like that, um I look at both platforms, the Veve and Quid, because I came from Veve too, and I think we both joined Quid around the same time as well, like February and March of this year. I just see the tokens, really kind of tying in with the utility. I know Vive's got the
Okay, guys, I made
OBT.
it.
Oh, hey, Shauna, how's it going?
Hey, Shauna. So yeah, I had invited Shauna up to come and talk and tell us why
Cool.
she joined Quidd. You know, if you want to go ahead and do that, Chris, or
Yeah, yeah. So, you want me to finish talking about the Quid token and the Veve token, or just
Chris disappeared.
what? I missed that. My bad.
yeah, Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, if you want to go ahead and tell us, you know, what made you join Quidd, why you joined it, why you're still in on it, and you know, what do you love about it, what do you hate, and you know, just what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, well, initially, because I'm an independent contractor, so I work for myself doing like DoorDash, stuff like that. You get bored listening to music after a while. So I started watching, YouTube, well, not watching while I'm driving, but, listening to YouTube videos, stuff like that. Well, came across, Mr. Beast, everyone knows. And I had never really watched many of his videos, but so I started from the beginning, and he's always talking about Quid, and eventually, took the time to actually look this up, Google it and see what it's about. So I downloaded the app. Not a big fan of the website personally, but didn't know nothing. I'm like browsing and everything. I think I started out with like $5. I was been 10-cent things here, 10-cent things there. I didn't know what I was buying. I was buying like second edition, third edition, and I was like all over the place. But it was fun. It was fun browsing and stuff like that. And I think my biggest thing was that dark crystal chase. And my husband can vouch for me on this. It cost a lot, and he was pretty mad. But it was
Yeah,
fun.
here.
It was fun, and I, ranked top and everything until we got to that end there, and then it just I missed it. I think barely to get that other, when they redid it, where it was like top 10 or something. I fell to 11th, and a little upset
Oh,
about that, but it was a learning experience.
Yeah, that was one
yeah.
of the sets that I also
It was
went
it was
in
it was
heavy to.
yeah, because it was for the Weta one, and I missed that by it was barely like minute points. But overall, still gained a lot and still have a ton in my collection.
And that was the actual statue they were giving out, right? It was like
Yeah, it was
a
the Weta,
physical
but
gift.
In all honesty, you look online at some of these too, and it's so easy to just go on there and buy your own. I mean, that's why I wasn't too heartbroken. Once I found the website, I said I can easily get on there when I really want to get one and just go pick one up myself. But
And
it was a really it was a fun chase overall.
would you say that Quid having these chases makes you wanna maybe buy brands that you've never heard about or don't really care about, but because they have actual prizes and stuff, that makes you wanna participate in them?
No, so like, yeah, I mean the chases that actually have stuff that's worth it. For example, I won the LA so that's huge. I've got older kids that are big into that kind of thing, so I'm like, well, why not? So, but we won't be going until 2023 because my daughter was in the hospital for a little bit. So, they got a hold of me, so we'll be having some fun next December.
That's cool.
And then, of course, I did the 80 days chase. My husband's big into books, so I was like, yeah, why not? So didn't think I was gonna win that till Gail dropped out, and she thanked me, and I thanked her, and that was the end of that.
Cool.
So,
cool.
but yeah, my chases are over till 2023. It's been fun, but expensive and exhausting.
It can be, especially when you
But
have
as far as brands go, I mean, this is just my personal opinion. Some of these Quidd brands that they come out with, they're cute, but they do them too much.
So you would think that, oh, go ahead.
Chris, Sean, can you hear Chris?
I cannot hear Chris at all.
That's weird. Can you hear me now, Trade?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think what happens is Shauna has to drop off, like
step
down as a speaker, and then come back up.
Yeah, let me try that.
I know it's because I listen to Twitter Spaces, and this happens all the time.
Oh yeah, when they have like speaker and host problems. Like last week we had Klaus Goyler. He's like the CEO. He was like, yeah, he's like the CEO of the Bored Ape Social Club, and he was coming on to speak. And I sent him an invite and everything, and he couldn't speak. He couldn't get on. And we tried a few times, and then it was cool. We'll get him on in the future, but it's like, yeah, it's technology, man. Things happen.
Is she on? Is she back on?
No, I turned the mic off to see if he could pop on.
Can you hear me now?
You don't hear him at all?
No.
Can you hear me?
Weird. No, I mean, you have to completely drop off, as in like leave and then come back to the space.
Oh, okay. Let me do that real quick.
Just so we can hear you.
All right. And shook it back on. Cool. So yeah, like I was mentioning before with the tokens and stuff, with the omitoken and the Quidd token, then I think that's going to be like a really good medium for the interaction with these digital collectibles and how that's all going to play. Hey, can you hear me now, Patrid? Or am I still? It's a being weird.
No, I think you're good. I think she just has to join back up as a speaker. But yeah, I mean the tokens. At first people are just like, oh, it's a token because I can buy it and it's gonna go up in value, and let me buy it right now that it's cheap. But I mean, I think in a few years when they're fully implemented and they figured out all these regulations and stuff, I don't think you're gonna want to sell it or spend it because you're gonna see how much power it has. Where you can stake it, or if you hold this much amount and don't spend it for this amount of time, you'll get all these benefits. And because sometimes I think, like, if you have, let's say, 1 million of them, right, and you stake them and stuff, and they go up to $1 each, you're like, well, I'm a millionaire, like, I'm just gonna take them all out. If you have $1 million worth of something and it's worth more in the app, if that makes sense, whereas like if I spend them on these collectibles, I feel like they can go up in value, and if I don't touch them and just keep them there, like, I can get all these other benefits. It's like you want to just stake them as much as you can.
Exactly. And I think, like, when we're talking about the collectibles, having read we both have the Quidd light paper, and it talks about like the collect to earn, and like right now we have the collect to win, right? Because we're in these contests and stuff. I think with tokens that as time goes on and more utility comes to them, people would be like, okay, yeah, maybe I can sell it, and some people will cash them out and just take the profits or whatever, which is cool. I think a lot more people are going to want to hold on to them, and just because of the value they get from it, and what they can do with that, either being it, maybe being able to get like suggested votes, not like you can vote and change things, but maybe having your opinion heard. You'll have maybe connectivity to exclusive clubs, and you see that with the board, with the what the Board Ape Social Club's trying to do, having it with the wines and everything like that, um, and how they're using their NFT brands. But like, I think these tokens are gonna really be almost like your Costco card or your Sam's card. And that's kind of very like mild example, but I think it's gonna be like that ticket into a lot of things that if you don't have that, you won't be able to really take the full experience. And I think that's gonna make people hold on to it more tight fist, and the value will just go up even more. You know?
Yeah, I think when, let's say, some people are just going to invest in the Quidd token or the omitoken because they see it as a good altcoin, and the value will go up. And I think this happens with Ethereum, right? People buy Ethereum at 40 cents, so then they start buying these Bored Apes for like $1 million, because to them the entry point was maybe $1 or $2, right? So when they're spending 50, 60 Ethereum, to them it was like, this really only cost me like $100, let's say, right? I think a lot of people are gonna have that point of view, because once you have all this value in this token, and then now it can be used to purchase all these collectibles, well, those collectibles are gonna go up in value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are not
Yeah.
gonna want to sell them. Let's say they cost them $10,000 to buy a collectible, they're not gonna sell it until it's worth maybe 20, 30, 40, 50,000. So I feel like they're just gonna go back, with each other, like, oh, this one went up, so now these go up. And because the collectibles went up, well, now the tokens going up. And now because the collectibles are worth more, there's more utility. And, all these things are going to play with each other. And I mean, it's just a new asset class, and there's going to be a lot of value in both of them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, and I think it's cool that with our partnership with LA Comic Con and the pop culture, and now the Board Ape Social Club, that it's just going to kind of tie more in, and anytime, like, and I always say, like, we're all fam. Anytime a platform kind of moves up and does something new, brings new IPs and new technology through it, rising tide raises all ships. And I think with LA Comic Con, becoming bigger and bigger, and they have the Quidd booth there, that's going to spread more awareness just for digital collectibles and NFTs in general. So it's cool because I think for mass adoption, everyone needs to kind of push. And going into 2023, that's kind of like I did a little kind of video on Twitter, just saying, hey, what is that you're doing for, like, it's like a month or two before 2023. Like, what are you doing for your platform to kind of push and raise the bar, because I think it's going to take all of us together to bring mass adoption, really educate people that they're not just pictures, that they're things that can really have utility and interact and have entertainment and gaming and gamification.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it fun, because it's like all these things in one, right? You can buy, let's give an example. I collect the comics on Veve and Quidd, right?
Yeah.
I have this Incredible Hulk. There's only 15 of them. It's in gem mint condition. It's a slab and everything, right? In the future, Marvel can be like, well, that's one of our rarest digital collectibles. Let's give it some utility, because now, since collectors want them and it's worth so much, right? You can have a real life comic book in your collection that's worth $20,000, $30,000, and the only value that comes from it is that somebody else wants it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think them adding utility and value to all these collectibles is what's gonna make the next people come in and do it. Give me 1 second.
You see, and the cool thing is, like, I think that's what we're doing. Is that we're not only collecting the stuff for ourselves, but like we're collecting the stuff too for our kids and their kids, because we're seeing down the line that even if the price does shoot up, and we'll kind of look at our collection and say, "Hey, maybe I have extras of this, and we could uptrade, upsell, whatever." But like, for me, like, I know you feel the same way too, that we want to leave this to our kids. We want to, like, put this in a lockbox, like it while we're here, but we're really leaving it for them. And because we can see that it's going to have even more utility as time goes on and technology just kind of adapts, changes.
Yeah, because I mean, I wish I was back to being 8 years old and all these Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Pokemon cards are coming out, and we know what they're worth now, right? And it
Yeah,
was because as kids, we just loved them, right? The same
yeah,
way kids right now, they love Marvel, they love Disney, they love all this stuff. In the future, when they're like, I have disposable income, I've paid off my house, my car, or I'm just a collector, and they're used to, playing Fortnite and getting all these skins and wanting more and completing sets and everything. Every generation is going to keep going, like this generation grew up used to this, and now this generation is going to love it, and now the next generation is really going to want to just own as many things as they can from it. So, and I like the burning mechanism that, both, well, BV and Quidd have right now, where it's like, if you don't want this, burn it. You can kind of throw it away, and that'll make the other ones even more valuable.
yeah. Veve has the omitoken will burn, so that way they start off with a bigger supply, and that's going to kind of shrink down as they kind of buy and sell more of the collectibles. And with Quid, our token is static at 1 billion, and there's not even that many in the market right now. I think there's maybe like, I don't know, like, I forget. It's like tens of millions. It's not that much, but it stops at 1 billion tokens. When you really think about it, it's not as much as, like, say, Shiba Inu and some of these other coins, which had like quadrillions. It's pretty wild, which is like millions times millions times millions. But yeah, it's gonna be cool just to kind of see as the scarcity occurs that's going to affect the value even more because like on Quid, for instance, there's certain channels now that can't be even completed because people were like, you know what, it's mine, I'm gonna take it with me and I'm gonna burn this, this number one or this number two, or there's maybe like a 1-on-1, and then when they burn that whole thing, it's gone forever, can't bring it back, and that adds a really big dynamic to the whole digital collecting aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be always up to us what we value and what collectors think are, the most valuable ones. And to me, I've always said, I'll post it on Twitter, I'll talk to you about it. I really think scarcity is gonna be really important because to say I'm only one of 100 people, one of only 200 people, to say, hey, I own this collectible, it's 30 years old. You know what I mean? Like, that's really gonna matter. And when you have scarcity and a big character, like, let's say, for example, the secret rare Spider-Man, which I still want on BB. I remember when it came out, I'm like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna spend the money on it, but it just didn't happen. So when I go on Quid and I see, hey, there's scarce collectibles here, and they might not be on the blockchain, right? They might not be like a first appearance, but knowing that they're scarce is enough for me to be like, I want one, because what if later on 100, 1,000, 10,000 people want it, and now I can't get it?
And I think that's really cool too with what we did with here on Quid, is that the value on some of these lower CC items, and you have a ton of those number one caches, which is awesome. And I'm sure you have a lot of other, like really, really low scarce ones as well, outside of Marble. But like, say like in the future, if we have like a duplicate or we have like maybe a different higher number, a print number, and we want to get that secret rare on, say, on VB, or if we want to go to DC and get a drop, we'd have a chance to, that now we have a lot more choices as the value goes up, and the same thing too with people who were on VB and they kind of got in early and they kind of expand into different platforms and different spaces. And I think that's a cool thing about it is that, you can kind of pick and choose what collectibles you want to keep, what collectibles you want to sell. Because, like you said, in the end, you really own these, and what you decide to do with them is totally up to you.
Yeah, and you just want to, they say collect what you love, so then, like, later on, you're not like, oh, this was not worth a lot and everything, because it's true, you want to collect the ones you really love, so if it goes to zero, because, hey, we might all be completely wrong, and in a few years, we'll talk and be like, hey, remember we thought digital collecting was going to be the next big thing, and, I mean, we'll still own them, right? It'll be
Yeah,
like buying a toy that you thought, oh, this toy's gonna go, like a Beanie Baby, or a toy that, hey, this toy's gonna go up in value because all these people want it. They might want it now, but what about in 10, 20, 30 years? Like, you at least still have it. You can do things with it. And right now, especially in this bear market, I think that's what people are buying. They're buying things that are like, hey, I want this one. Or even if you do think, hey, I'm gonna buy this one because I think you get to this amount, you do it in the sense where like if it does get to that amount, I can then sell it to buy things that I want.
Mhm.
So yeah, you just gotta like think about it like that. Like just collect what you want because hey, you love it. Right now we really can't do that much stuff with it. Like I know you can put it in a showroom, you can put it in AR, like both on Veve and Quidd. But once
Mhm.
these get utility in the sense where like you said earlier, hey, there's a pass to this gets me a discount here, this lets me, go into this holders event only thing, it's like that's when we're gonna look back and be like, oh, okay, so this is where it was going, this is what we can do with them.
Exactly. I think what an issue that's going on right now is I think platforms are not allowed because M was talking about this on the Quidcast. And he was talking about at one time, and I can't remember if it was a couple of years back or when it was, but he was saying, but people were taking the collectibles and putting them on a tablet. So that way you can actually see them on the tablet. And he was saying, well, why doesn't the platform do that? And I think what's happening is, especially since this is such a new space, that when it comes to licensing, that if a platform does it and goes out, they have to have licensing. Is it going to be displayed for private? Is it going to be commercial? And then there's different things in play. Like, for instance, like in retail stores, they have to pay a media company that has licensing with like for music in the background or videos, right? They have to pay to have that displayed in a commercial setting. And the same thing with like DVDs and Blu-rays. Like, there's a disclaimer that says, "Hey, for home and private use." So I think with digital collectibles, that that we can do that. Like as consumers and collectors, we can do that, and we can kind of put it on display, and we can put them on hardware and stuff like that. But I don't think it's like it kind of gets hashed out with the licenses and legalities that a big platform won't come out with a hardware because they could if they wanted to. I mean, the connections and the technology's there, but I don't think they'll do that just because the licensing really has to be rock solid and tight.
Yeah, actually me and EHM were having a discussion in the Discord earlier where like how AR and VR and all the things are going to play in with Web3 and all this stuff. And what I got from our conversation from him was like, why do we need this new technology? Why do we need this new tech for it to even work? Like, does it matter? Like, if you need all that for it to work, then what's the point? But I think we need to understand that, like right now, what are we doing? We're talking. I don't have your phone number. I don't need to know anything about you. We can just have a conversation like this, right? Because of our phone, because of the technology and the app that we're using and stuff like that. So I think, let's say we have this conversation in a 3D environment, and all of us are our avatars and everything. I think that'll make it more fun. And sure, we can have this conversation how we're having it now, but just having it in this like metaverse environment where we could be walking around talking and stuff like that. I think that's what's going to change a lot of what we think these things can do, right? So let's say, hey, let's have this conversation at Paradox Cycles, home or whatever, and in the background you have all your collectibles. I can walk around while we're talking and like look at everything that you own, and I think that's what's really gonna, be that wow factor. Like, oh, this is why I bought this a long time ago. Like, I can view it in 2D and put it in a little room, move it around and stuff. But now I'm actually at your home that's customizable. That maybe you own a plot on the sandbox, or you're renting it out from someone who bought it in the VVverse or something. And that's where the technology kicks in. Where you can be like, I feel like I'm actually there talking and being with someone else. So yeah, these collectibles, yeah, they're too look and store now, but eventually they're gonna evolve. I think these are like how we see Web 1 now. It's like, wow, the internet used to be boring, and all you can do was look up recipes and order stuff like books on Amazon and maybe Google something that you don't know about. But so that's how we're gonna look at our collectibles too. We're gonna be like, man, we remember we could just see them in the little gallery and fill up our little sets and complete ranks and all that stuff. It's like in the future they're gonna be able to do all this stuff and have all this utility and value. And I think that's the most important part. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, why collect to collect and stuff like that. Which, you know, a lot of us do. We do collect just to collect. But if you want to bring in the masses and all these people to, you know, get eyeballs on it, the
Mm.
value needs to be there, right? I feel like that's what happened with Veve. A lot of people join, they like the collectibles, but they put in even more money because they're like, hey, these collectibles are going up in value. Let me put in more money because I want, you know, to have more value in the app. So eventually, when that happens with Quidd and Veve again, and with all these other platforms, you know, I think that's when everyone's gonna hop in and be like, "Hey, you can make money on this. Yeah, you can make money on this, and you can have fun, and you can, you know, do all these crazy things with them in the real world." You know, that's gonna be like, "Wait, what do you mean?" Like, yeah, if I have this collectible, look, let me go here, scan my code, and here you go. Here's a free meal at Disneyland. You know what I mean? So I think it's just really starting, and where it's gonna take us. I mean, it's just crazy to think about.
And I think a lot of companies have tried doing what they call the member, um like a social member thing where they'll give like coupons, discounts, exclusives and stuff like that. And other than the big giant ones like Costco and Sam's and a few others, it's been kind of a black art work in progress. And I think like with these digital collectibles on different platforms, what's happening is that especially like what we saw with the Palm and the DC drops, that they were just getting these airdrops just for holding the back house, and it was like, whoa, that's actually pretty freaking cool. Like I'm part of a club where I get you know cool free stuff. I wasn't expecting it, and that raised the value even more. And like with Quid, like you seeing that you're getting into these contests just for holding stuff. And in Vivi, you were getting like these golden secret rares because you were just holding a set. So like I think that's going to be like the new norm. Really, is that when you're into something and you're a part of a club and a group, that the more you're in it, the more vested you are, and the longer you are in it, the more benefits you get. It's just like I'm gonna use car insurance as an example. If you're in car insurance, supposedly like you start getting to these different clubs. You get Diamond Club, Platinum. I definitely see the gaming and entertainment market heading in that direction. And if anything, we're already there because of what we're seeing now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people saw like, or they know that like, hey, these old items released, you know, 50, 60 years ago. Today they're worth a lot because they're old and they're scarce, right?
Yeah.
So just that alone is like, hey, that's enough to give it all this value because, you know, a lot of people want it. And that just with that, like some of these are worth, you know, some of them might be worth thousands of dollars or even in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that said, it's just a physical item you own. You want it because it's scarce, and you know other people want it. So I imagine like now that you know we pretty much are becoming digital. Like, oh well, here's this digital collectible, and the same things. It's scarce. It's you know in 20, 30 years these collectibles will technically be old, right?
Mhm.
That would be enough to drive it up to a certain value. But now you have all this added utility, all these things you can actually do with it. Because physically, with a comic book, I can't just show up to Disneyland and be like, "Hey, I own this comic book," and then they tell me, "Oh yeah, go ahead. You get $50. You get $50 of eating or like coupon or something." You can't do that. But with physical, I mean, with digital, because like I have my QR code that's tied to my Veve account, my Quidd account, my Recur account. Hey,
Mhm.
we know what you own. We know what you have. Okay, this is a big time collector. Let's his collection is worth this. It's almost like when a whale goes to a casino. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, let's treat him nice because hey, he's like in the community of gamblers. He's one of the best members that we had. He's a loyal, I guess, customer, right? Because he comes and he gambles, and we have to treat him good. I think that's what's gonna happen slowly. Where you're like, hey, I'm glad I own this collectible because I can do this, or hey, as a present to my kids or to my wife or my brother for graduating college, here we go. I'm gonna give him these collectibles because I know he's really into Rick and Morty, or I know he's really into like Adventure Time or Game of Thrones, and like that,
Mm.
and give it to them. And it's like they'd rather have that than like a physical, item or gift.
Yeah, and I think one space I've been following and lurking on a lot was the Odd Key. space with Spawn and everything like that, because I used to collect Spawn a ton, the comics and everything like that when I was younger. And what they're doing is that they actually have things tied into the physical and the digital. So it's cool seeing how that's kind of kind of come into play, and how that's going to work. And I think that's going to be the same thing too. I think eventually, like these digital collectibles are going to be kind of tied and showing ownership. And that's kind of what they're thinking too. Like some big companies, even in real estate, they're looking at the crypto as, maybe even having a digital ledger of showing, hey, you know what? Yeah, you own your car. Here's a digital ledger. There's your home. There's a digital ledger. And I think with these high end collectibles, you're gonna have a digital ledger too. And I think, like you said, hey, yeah, you don't want to take your physical collectible to somewhere and say, hey, I have this, $10,000, $20,000 collectible, but just like our bank cards, the information's there, the money's there. These collectibles will have something. I don't know what it is, but it'll be something saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm the VIP or I'm the Diamond Club holder because I own these collectibles on these different platforms." Be like, "Oh yeah, say Disney World. Yeah, we see you own a ton of Disney. Hey, come in. Let's get you set over here at the VIP section, and you meet other collectors. And you'll probably know each other because you all collect, or Marvel, or any platform. So it's gonna be cool to see how it evolves as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean the community's here. There's a lot of collectors, and nobody's rich. No one has made millions off of all these, and we're here. We're collecting. We love doing it. So it's like, why wouldn't other people, right? Wouldn't there be a next wave of collectors that come in? Because there's no marketing for this, right? You don't see a commercial saying, "Hey, buy your first digital collectible on Veve or on Quidd." It's just kind of like, let's build a technology, let's build the platforms up right now. And one way I see it is we're actually like early investors, right? We're telling these companies, hey, yeah, we believe in you guys. We know where this is going. Here's our money, and obviously they're going to use it to make the product better and build out the pipelines that they need to have utility, like the ones we're talking about. Where like, hey, I want to go to Disneyland, or if I go to this comic book store, maybe I can pay with the collectible, which I've thought about too. And it's like, if you own something that's worth a certain amount and we both agree on it and the market shows, hey, that's the value of it, it's almost like a currency, right? Like if I give you $1, you're like, oh, I know it's worth $1 because I can use this as $1 anywhere else. Okay, well, I have this collectible that I'm telling you it's worth 5, and you said, yeah, I know it's worth 5 because if I look in the marketplace, I can see that it's been selling for $5 for like a whole year now, right? So here, let me pay with the digital collectible. So I just can't
Definitely.
wait for the evolution of them, and and the community is gonna matter, right? Because
Oh yeah.
we're the ones that are talking about it, spreading it, telling people about it. Hey, collect. Have you heard of this? Like, well, what is it? Like, right now, it's just, hey, it's collectible. Either you love it or you don't, right? And you might say, hey, they were worth $1,000 a few months ago. It should go back up there. I mean, you can say that, but people are gonna be, well, why is it only worth $200 now, right? What went wrong? What's wrong with it? And then you have to explain to them what volatility is. You got to explain to them what a bear market is, and I don't think people really like. They just don't understand it, right? You have to make it easy for them to be like, "What is it? Oh, it's a collectible that lets you do this, this, and that." Oh, okay, I get it. I could use it in a game. Yes, you use it in a game. You could sell it. You can
Well,
post a picture up with it. You can
I,
give it to someone. So I think we still got a long way to go, but we're getting there little by little.
but I think most people don't realize they've already been there, kind of, because you look at like Call of Duty, and people, they grind and they do these quests and everything, and they have this item, and especially I think Call of Duty, people are selling items on there for really big money because it's scarce. It takes a long time, and sometimes you just get lucky. You get something. So I think when I speak with people about digital collectibles, I kind of put it in the same perspective. Right now it's hard to get these items, and it's scarce, and it's all brand new, and people are just starting to kind of understand. And other than NFTs, and they hear what's on the news, and crypto and what's on the news, I think less us as passionate collectors and understanding the space, because we've been in it as long as we have. It's just, I think we're going out there, and through our videos, through our speech, through our text, and just interactions every day, we're educating people. And as time goes on, they'll become, if they're interested, educated, they'll start collecting, they'll start seeing why we're kind of passionate about what we do. And that's just going to keep on spreading out. And it's going to be like just growing in magnitude every so often and throughout the next years to come. Um, Going with like what you were saying with the collectibles and being able to kind of use that and transfer that. So before I even when I was on OpenSea and I kind of went to crypto.com, I was really interested in the fact that I could take those coins, that crypto, and I could actually use a credit card to spend on it. So that way, when there was actually profits and I wanted to kind of get out of it, it was very liquid. The fees were low and everything. And to me, I can imagine that they would be, it may will never happen, but I'm just saying that I can imagine they would be like a card that says, hey, you know what? Instead of cash out and it goes into your PayPal or something like that, it's on a card you can spend on. And it's going to even create more liquidity because now you're going to see it as, oh, well, this is stuff that will never move. It's hard to sell, like physical collectibles. You got to know somebody, you got to find somebody, you put on eBay, maybe you don't know the market or anything like that. I think with digital, and we're seeing this kind of like with people who really kind of show the value of what, like we see it on Veve, right? With Only the Clown and all the different charts and everything like that. And you can actually see where a market's been and all-time highs and lows, and you get a better feel value. But if that gets tied to a card where it's liquid and like the tokens will make things more liquid, I think that's going to be a real big draw saying, okay, well, now I feel comfortable investing a lot more money because I know I can pull it out if I need it. It's not something that's going to be static or I'm going to just have it tied up for months or years.
Yeah, it's almost like saying, "Oh, I own all this stock in Apple," or even with crypto, like, "Oh, I own all these, all this Ethereum." It's kind of like, okay, well, now I own all these digital collectibles, and it's money, right? It's like how you're saying, if it's liquid enough, it's money because you can just sell it on the spot and be like, okay, now I can buy this. So I think we need to see it as that. It's a digital asset. It just happens to be, a comic book or a little figure or like a golden moment. Like I have the Wally golden moment, right?
Oh, cool.
I think like one day I'm gonna be able to post it somewhere, and then like in a showroom or something, and that's what it is at that moment. It's a piece in a showroom. What happens if it becomes valuable and I say, hey, now I can buy a car with that? You're gonna pretty much trade that for a car, and that's crazy. To me, that's crazy, right? It's like almost saying, oh, I'm gonna be able to trade a Bitcoin for a car, right? That's happening, right? There's dealerships
Exactly.
everywhere that
Exactly.
accept Bitcoin because, hey, I love Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is just a crypto. There's nothing attached to it, right? It's a token that I own, but hey, I own this golden moment Walt statue. Like, hey, man, those are rare. They're worth, let's say, $1 million. Like, here, okay, I'm gonna buy my house with it. And that's crazy to think now, but like you said, I think we're heading there. It's a new asset class. In 50, 100 years, NFTs are gonna be like money. Along with crypto.
I even think it might be even sooner than that. I'm thinking maybe like 10, 15 years. Look, and I'm only thinking that because it took a while for, Bitcoin to kind of be realized. But it goes back to like when you talk about scarcity. The thing about like that's a real big draw on Bitcoin is that they know once it's like the last Bitcoin's mined, that's it. The supply won't increase. It's gonna be static. It's recognizable. It's transferable. It's storable. So I think that that's really what draws people to put value. It's like when people value gold and silver, like physical. It's because they know that there's only so much that can be pulled out of the ground at one time. There's only so much in existence, and it's scarce. And that's kind of like what they looked at Bitcoin too. But instead of carrying like a 20 or 30 pound piece of metal to buy a big piece of real estate, you use cash or digital. But with the crypto, it's like, okay, well, this is really scarce versus how many people can actually own this. It's recognizable, it's transferable, it can't be increased in value, and even the scarcity can be more because people have lost their wallets, so then it becomes less in circulation. And I think almost what I'd say I do with collectibles. Only that now with collectibles, you can use them for something, whereas with the digital tokens, and I think that's what's going to evolve from it. That with the collectibles, you're going to be able to do a lot more things. We saw this with the profile pics with CryptoPunks. At one time, 2017, these things were given away. And it wasn't until people really started using it and people were buying it, and you know, like famous people got involved, and stars and stuff. And then it's like, whoa, this is like a club, and everyone wanted to join in on that club. And now there's a certain level to pay for that. Same with Bored Ape Yacht Club or Crypto Killies or Cool Cats, and even with the Veve and Golden Moments, that was like a club in itself. If you owned a Walt or a Todd, like you're recognizable. You know you have something that's scarce and rare. So like I definitely see that evolving from being just profile pictures to being more tangible to what we're seeing now with the collectibles.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to. At least that's how I think about it. Sometimes we got to see, well, what is the next generation gonna want? What are they gonna, spend money on? And are they really gonna? I mean, people are always be into like expensive watches and expensive cars and stuff like that, right? But like, what do they want to show off, right? And it's gonna have to be something digital, right? If they own something digital and they can show it off that they own it, I think that's gonna. And Gary Vee has mentioned this, where it's like you want that like factor of, dang, you own that, like how, like it's worth this much, how did you get it, or what, so I think just with because it's the brands. I always just think of the brands like, this is Marvel and Disney, man, right? Anything they do is always planned out. They think about it. They're not just gonna get into a space to be like, hey, let's just mess around with it and see what happens. It didn't work out. All right, like too bad. Like no, they're taking their time. They're like, okay, let's work with Quidd. Let's work with Veve. Let's start building this up, because they see it, right? They see, hey, everything in the future is going to be digital, right? Here comes AR, here comes VR, here comes the metaverse. Well, what are you going to have in the metaverse to show off, or to say, hey, look what I own. You should want it too, because everybody else wants it, right? So, slowly but surely, we're getting there to that point where it's going to be like, I don't care if you own a Rolex. I don't care if you have a, $300,000 car, or your house has 8 bedrooms. Like, I want to know if you own a wall. I want to see if you have a secret rare Spider-Man. I want to see if you own, secret rare AF-15, stuff like that. So, and because everything right now is like entertainment wise, it's like Marvel and Disney, right? So it's getting there. The same thing with Pokemon. Everybody grew up love Pokemon. It's like, why is it so rare? Those Pokemon cards that go for like $2-3 million, because everybody wants it.
Exactly. It's like when we saw like those gem Charizards going for like 100,000 to $1 million. And who was it that went into the ring to box? It was Mayweather and Paul. Help me out here.
It's Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, and he had the Charizard around his neck, and I was like, how badass is that? That something iconic like that, and he's just fronting and saying, "Hey, I could be wearing anything, but I'm gonna have a Charizard. I'm gonna walk on here like a beast." So like, yeah, definitely with the next generations, what we consider to be luxurious and be a drawer is definitely changing. I mean, I think always the luxury house, the car, the boat, that's going to always be there too. But now we're seeing that with collectibles, comics, digital collectibles now, that when you own that, it's just going to have a level of clout and allow you to have kind of like a resume, an access card pretty much to get into these clubs that otherwise, if you don't have those or if you haven't made your way up, it might be hard to get into. So people are willing to pay anything to get into that club.
Yeah, what gives me confidence is like seeing people when, the bull market was going, and there was people dropping, 70K on collectibles, and they were dropping, $10,000 when the Epic Superman comic came out. And it's like, that just shows me like, hey, people will spend money on these things because they want them, right? And this is just a little, we might think, oh, we're big, there's a lot of us. Like, yeah, there is a lot of us right now, but like, this is nothing compared to what it's going to be, because you got to think about it. When anything starts, it's small. There's a community that keeps it going. Like, having spaces like this right now, people listening in and talking, it's like, that's what keeps us going, right now. Nothing that we have is worth anything, but we still love it, right? So imagine how much more we're gonna love it when you check your phone and you're like, dang, this collectible I got on a $7 drop is now worth $50,000, $100,000, right? You're gonna feel almost lucky that you got that. And I remember Alfred Kahn saying in one of his interviews, like, the drop is part of the experience. That's a story, right? And I remember kind of like, what does he mean the drop? Like when you get it, like I didn't understand it at first, but now it's like there's gonna be a story behind the drop. Like I remember I came in, it kicked me out, I logged back in, I had to do all this stuff just to get that item, and look, I still own it, and now it's worth so much more money. So a lot of our collectibles, without even knowing it, they have their own little story. It's being built. Maybe I had it listed for like a month or two and never sold, so I took it out, and I'm happy it didn't sell because now it's my favorite collectible. And I think what you said earlier, like we're gonna want to give these to our kids. We're gonna want to be like, here you go, this is for you. Do what you want with it. I don't care about it no more. We're gonna get used to being like, oh yeah, we have all these collectibles. They're worth this much. Like that wore off. The excitement wore off. Like here, you do what you want with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think the next aspect is going to be, and you've heard me talk a lot about this, about animal brands and how they really want to implement a throughput of royalties where it's going to benefit not just the big IP brands, the artists, the partners, and everything like that, but really the community, because really the community, they're the kind of like the raving fans and the ones that talk and advertise about it. I think in the past, where these companies would spend a fortune to advertise on television, in a movie, or on the radio, that's still going to happen. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But I think the best advertisement is when friends and family are, or like on YouTube, for instance, right? Look how much YouTube's exploded and how these big influencers have come to play. And I think they're going to reward people who really collect and talk about that brand. And those people are going to be the most knowledgeable, really, because that's what they love to collect. And I think what's going to happen is that, like we look at Shauna, she just won those tickets to LA Comic Con, and she's going to head out there in 2023. So big congrats, lots of love there. That's awesome, you know. And I almost can imagine that it's going to be a certain level, like we talk about, like people gamble in the casinos and stuff like that, because they're just repeat customers. But I think, like, as a form of advertising, we're going to be able to maybe even get tickets to a Comic Con, or if not like physically, maybe virtually, and that those people can speak, kind of like we're speaking right now, and now touch a whole new generation of collectors, and they're going to be able to tell their story, like you're saying, the story of that drop. Like one of my stories is with Veve. Like I got a Loki, and it's a print. It's print number 505, and being from Albuquerque, New Mexico, that kind of means something to me, and I don't ever see like me selling that, or like if something was hard, or I went for a chase and I end up winning something, like I'm going to be getting a signed poster for the LA Comic Con anime drop. And I have no idea what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be an anime character, but it's going to be just one of the posters that they had there. But I'm looking forward to it whenever it comes. And, I probably will never sell that. And I think that, yeah, as a community, that's going to mean a lot. That we're going to have a lot more openness, a lot more communication, a lot more sharing, and that these companies are going to really reward the people who kind of really play the biggest part at different levels.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we're seeing all these communities being built. Like we would have never met if it wasn't for digital collecting, right? We wouldn't have met a lot of other people if it wasn't for it. So I think that's the biggest part, right? You're meeting people from different walks of life. You don't know who they are. They might have collected cards early on, or they collected books, or they're Marvel fans, but now they collect all these other brands because they love everything else that their favorite platform releases, and the community, and then rewarding them. I think that's what's gonna be the biggest thing. So I mean, I feel rewarded just being part of the community. To me, that's like a big part of it. So I'm just happy
Definitely.
to have started collecting, met everybody that I've met, talked to them. We're all passionate. We have different point of views, but we discuss it and talk it out. And it's really getting started. It's gonna get to the point where like all these spaces that we join are gonna have thousands and thousands of people. Because everybody's just into digital collecting. So yeah, I just want to say, thank you for hosting me, and have fun doing these, and people listening in, and thanks Shauna for coming up and speaking and letting us know, because that's how we have to do. We got to communicate and, communicate. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm sorry I couldn't talk too much. And then we cut Chris off. Sorry, Chris.
No, you're fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
thank
mean,
you guys. I appreciate you
definitely.
guys talking, and thank you, Chris, for hosting, and thanks, Sean, for coming up and speaking.
Yeah, you're very welcome anytime.
And thank you everyone for kind of just coming on board, listening, or even listening to this afterwards because it is recorded. So it's a nice little record because in the future, it could be a year or two or more. You can always go back and see where these shows are at. And if we got things right, if we got things wrong, or just kind of just making it part of our story and conversation. And then just growing more from there. But yeah, I hope we can get more people up here, different ideas, different perspectives, and just keep it growing. Just and have fun. Overall, just collect and have fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Next time, if I ever come on, you'll get more out of me.
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you for coming on board, and guys, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Until next time, guys.
Bye.
Later, guys.